how do you look at India as an AI powerhouse?
The talent base, the fact that we've got global capability centers in India, and the energy that is being exhibited by both government and private enterprises is what makes a difference in terms of why this market is growing, why we need to focus on it, and the growth curve that we ourselves are experiencing with respect to AI services.
Hi Nitin, welcome to India. You being our global AI leader, spending time in India so many times during a year is a great experience for us. Let me start with a few things about India. I mean, how do you look at India as an AI powerhouse? What are the typical advantages that India has in the area of AI, and how can we leverage it better?
Yeah, now first off, thank you. And it's an absolute privilege to kind of spend time in India because it is one of the fastest growth markets that is out there. And what that means is it actually creates tremendous opportunity for us in Deloitte. Now, what I would kind of say is that India has a few things that are critical to the growth story that we're experiencing in the country. First and foremost is the talent base. The fact that the AI talent is actually mushrooming and blooming in India. So that's a huge advantage. Second is the fact that a lot of the Western companies in particular have got their global capability centers, GCCs in India, which means that a lot of product design, R&D, and now even innovation is actually starting to happen in these GCCs, and it is more of a out of India story that is actually emerging. That's the second sort of critical component to it. The third component is that I think there's a level of energy both in government and in commercial enterprises as it relates to recognizing the potential and promise of AI. The whole India AI mission has actually kind of given wings to what and how AI could be applied in vast swaths of the economy, including government business as well as private enterprises. So you kind of take all that into account, the talent base, the fact that we've got global capability centers in India, and the energy that is being exhibited by both government and private enterprises is what makes a difference in terms of why this market is growing, why we need to focus on it, and the growth curve that we ourselves are experiencing with respect to AI services.
Yeah. How much should we rely on something being developed outside India? How much should we develop it on our own? That's a debate that most of the Indian companies do have all the time. Should we leapfrog by leveraging something which has already been done? And what amount of work we should do it in a very indigenous way? So what's your view on that?
Yeah, I would actually say there's going to be no one silver bullet or no one answer. The field of AI is such that innovation happens on kind of, let's say, the shoulders of others. And every region and country is going to essentially pick up on what is happening in other parts of the world and build off it. And we're seeing examples of it everywhere right now. Particularly for India, the three things I would kind of articulate is that because of the talent base, there is essentially a lot of, let's say, resilience in terms of how India actually brings engineering prowess to bear. The application of AI, the various use cases that are enabling the adoption and mainstreaming of Gen AI in private enterprises, as well as all the fine-tuning and post-training work that has to be done with respect to a lot of these models. And now, more and more, the actual build and application of agentic AI. So all that is actually something India is progressing and very resilient when it comes to its talent base. When it comes to AI infrastructure, India has to be reliant because chips, hardware, networking, and even basically kind of the build out of data centers is both, let's say, expertise as well as quote unquote physical products in the form of networking equipment, hardware and chips, particularly GPUs, that have to come primarily kind of from the US as well as the Western Hemisphere. So over there, India has to be, at least in the short to medium term, much more reliant. But then there's a third aspect of it. And that third aspect is India will actually need Indic foundation models.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily all have to be your large language models. Some of them are absolutely going to be small language models, but models that are much more contextualized for specific circumstances, industries, sectors of the economy, as well as, let's say, proficient both in terms of how they're trained and the inference that is generated in Indian languages, not just English. So you have to kind of, I think, traverse and take into account all those aspects.
Yeah, and maybe taking a cue from there, the next topic comes about adoption of AI. What we have done recently, we published a report for Gen AI trends in India on the global lines, and we found that in India, maybe consumer business, technology, media, these kind of sectors have been early adopters or better adopters of AI. We have also seen a few concerns pertaining to, say, cybersecurity, pertaining to trustworthiness, etc., that Indian leaders, Indian businesses do have. What is the global view, and what is the overall trend that you see from your standpoint about AI adoption globally across various sectors?
Yeah. Of late, we've absolutely seen an uptick in the adoption of AI. One of the key ingredients of it has been Gen AI, as we knew about it, particularly when we interacted with chatbots, was all about Gen AI telling something. The inference was insights, information, summarized data, or distilled basically kind of, let's say, kind of data that was useful for decision-making purposes. All that was inferred, aka these chatbots told something. Now we're moving into the next phase where Gen AI is going from telling something to doing something. That is essentially kind of where agents are coming into play. Agents generate action. They actually enable you to autonomously execute tasks, workflows, processes, and generate experiences, which means it's become a lot more useful for enterprises because it's augmenting a job, it's augmenting a process, it's augmenting an experience, it's autonomously executing a task. Because of that, we are seeing this hockey stick, let's say, growth in the adoption of agentic AI. And that same pattern is happening, playing out in India as well, wherein the conversations have gone from curiosity and experimentation to we have to do something with Gen AI and make essentially our workforce a lot more productive. So that is a global trend, and India is very much a party to that global trend.
Yeah, and I like to go back to the same topic of compute. In India, compute is a big subject. There have been various nuances of it. For example, sovereign compute. So what is something that you believe India or countries like India can do in that area a little bit more?
In terms of what is required to have compute, aka all the AI infrastructure components, yes, India is going to be reliant on let's say kind of both the chip design companies as well as manufacturers, and then all the other kind of hardware companies, including kind of your hyperscalers. But in terms of how that stack is put together, how is that stack enabled for government and commercial clients? How is that monetized? What data resides in that stack? What are the security provisions associated with it? What are the type of use cases that actually help companies in India? What is the engineering services that are actually being provided? And ultimately, the actual insights that are being inferred, all that has to be sovereign. Meaning, it is a stack put together for India. It is data that is relevant for Indian basically kind of companies and in the Indian context. It is use cases that are applicable for customers in India. And the application of agents and the adoption of agents is consistent with the norms, culture, and expectations of the workforce in India. That to me is the sovereign part, not necessarily just the chip design or the hardware.
And maybe let me move to your personal side. You have been a writer, you have been a thinker on this subject. But within AI, what amuses you personally? What is something which looks really interesting, exciting to you as an individual?
Well, I'll kind of keep it to the amusement side. I think people find all kinds of, let's say, interesting and shortcut ways of using AI. You got students using it for their homework, which I'm not sure that I would kind of promote that, because there's an art and science to the learning process as opposed to taking shortcuts. People are using it as a substitute for social media, where agents are being enabled to connect with other agents, and those agents are kind of your proxies of your friends. Agents are being used for the purposes of dating and matchmaking. Agents are being used for all kinds of entertainment, etc. So people kind of, let's say, derive pleasure and amusement out of it. But to me, I would say that, I guess if it helps the entertainment industry and it helps kind of from a personal curiosity perspective, great. What's the business value of it? I'm not kind of sure. I think where the greater application is going to be is if it actually truly helps a person in a company either be more productive, more efficient, eases maybe some of the drudgery and challenges of their job, and specifically creates a greater experience. That's where the excitement is going to be, as opposed to the amusing parts of it.
Yeah, certainly. And maybe two agents talking to each other and trying to create a kind of interview, maybe a future thing. But thank you for
Though I would say that there are language protocols that are being built which no humans are going to be able to understand, because it's the language that the agents are going to be communicating. So machines talking to machines in their own language without basically any human understanding of it.
Yeah, that would be an amusing part of AI. But thank you for your time, and thanks for being with us, guiding us in India. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.